All right, welcome everybody to this week's Sandpile. I'm pleased to have Greg Pace from Chicago Digital as a guest panelist today as we talk about apps. Greg is a fellow that largely takes care of the App Store, although we all try and help a little bit here and there, but he is the point man for that. And he's graciously agreed to be a panelist with me as we talk about how we use apps in developing websites. I decided in celebration of Canadian winter, I would wear my toque today because no one outside of Canada seems to know what a toque is. So this is a toque, and I like this one because it makes me feel like I have hair and have a ponytail. So take that. Toque. Touque, Penny. Touque. I see, James, I don't know what you guys call it a beanie. A beanie is, that's the one that has the little propeller on it that Pee Wee Herman used to wear. That's a beanie. Duke. So let's start off with the news. I did want to say it looks like the R229 system update has been done. One of the biggest things in there, it was supposed to fix a bug causing frequent logouts from the admin console. And we were really looking forward to that, fixing that problem. Post update, it does not seem to have resolved the problem, at least not completely. I'm still getting kicked out, and there's a fair bit of conversation going on in the system update forum with BC support explaining what they were expecting to happen, and some folks explaining what they're seeing happening on the other end. So I don't know that it's resolved the problem yet. Is anybody else still experiencing multiple logouts? Hey, Daniel. Just in the chat, if you could just make a note there and say, yeah, still getting it, or no, I'm all good. Yeah, I thought so, Bill. So we continue to wait, and hopefully that will resolve itself, because I'm so tired of logging into websites all the time. And there were some other parts of the update was to fix a bug that caused pages that contain module_product recommendations to be cached. They added support for module product recommendations in email campaigns, which is kind of cool. And they introduced the new mailing list APIs. I haven't had a chance to look at those yet, but that offers some possibilities, I think. And finally, they fixed DNS record validation rules. The underscore character is now allowed. And then the ubiquitous other stability and maintenance tasks. So that update has been put in place. At least the one thing, the bug causing multiple logouts in admin, doesn't seem to be quite resolved, but we're hopeful. I'm going to mute all here except for you. There we go. Okay, so that's the system update. We have, let me look at the BC Academy. Oh no, was it BC Academy? Yeah, BC Academy. This week we're going to release the web app with exportable vCard generation. So it's just a super simple way to get exportable vCards in a web app detail page. So I'm looking forward to that. That's our own Greg Pace actually has done that video. So we'll be releasing that later this week. That's pretty cool. There appear to be no updates for the BC Guru side of things, so we'll pass over that. And since I have Greg here and is captive, I'm going to ask him what updates we have for the BC App Store.
So next week, well, going into next week is a very exciting week for the BC App Store, because the guys over at Backup BC, Karimo and his team over there, are going to be taking the backups beta, or the automatic backups, which is a lot of you are familiar with Backup BC, should be coming out next week. So stay tuned for an email about that. That is going to be huge. There's going to be 3 different pricing models. I don't want to spoil away too much because I think some of the details are still being finalized, but there'll definitely will be an unlimited version that you could use to sell to your clients, and hopefully they're pitching it as like a way to kind of make some revenue off that, upsells your clients as a service of automatic backups. Or honestly, it's one of those things that if you're going to pay for it, you should just give it to all your clients, because it's when something does happen, if it ever does, God forbid, you're going to want that backup. So definitely a really cool service. Allows you to back up to Google Drive, Dropbox and stuff like that. So
Nice.
stay tuned for that next week. I know, and then just to add to that, some of you guys might have blacklisted the BC App Store mailing list. I apologize for that. Um, we had an issue with the app digest going out. So some of you guys I know were pretty upset that we spammed you guys, and we were working to try to fix that. And yeah, it was tough. Anyways, uh, I'll leave it at that. I think you guys, if you guys got my email with the coupon code for solid meta tags, I hope you guys took advantage of that. Anyways, that's all for the BC App Store right now.
Nice. I was gonna only because I know you, I'm gonna call out Daniel and Ursula and say, listen, if you don't have enough for everybody, you shouldn't bring your donuts to the meeting. I'm just saying. That's all good. So what we thought we'd do is just talk about the apps that are available in the App Store, and in some cases I've used them, in some cases Greg has used them. I'm hoping that in some cases some folks in the community have used them and can chime in and just suggest how they found using them in their apps, how their clients have found using these apps on their sites, and just go through the ones that we think are appropriate to cover. So I thought just hang on one second. There's a question from Mike. For those using Windows, he just installed. Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know what that is. So, Greg, if you want to maybe talk about Solid Company Settings, I have used it, but I don't really have an idea what the main, like, how would you describe the main purpose of that app, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, so Solid Company Settings is basically, you could almost think of it as like your content holders per se. Like basically you can have more than one location. I think it supports up to 3 locations. So if your client changes a phone number, as long as we're thinking about building Solid Company Settings out, gives you a liquid tag. It's just like company.phone, like company1.phone or whatever it is. I don't know the exact tag offhand, but it just makes that available in liquid. So anywhere on the site, in your footer, in your header, whenever you put a phone number, you could just use the liquid tag and you're good from there. You're not going to have to, go in to this template, that template, this folder. Your client can go in, update their addresses, update the company names, update the company logo, update the slogan, all sorts of things for multiple locations as well. So really, useful for like, a doctor's office or something, or like all sorts of, really any client that has a physical address or a physical phone number. It's just kind of like a no-brainer, cheap kind of app that will make your life easier down the line when you do have to change it. So
Yeah.
we use that on every one of our sites, and pretty much any site we can. I know it's always like a note in the footer, like make sure you're using company settings, make sure you're using that when you're developing it out. So if you haven't used that yet, check it out. It's really a simple app, but it serves a purpose.
I know. I will say this before I carry on. Don't worry too much about URLs and all the rest of it. I'm going to have a PDF that I put in the resources along with the recording, with links to all these apps, so you can just get the PDF and click to know what we're talking about. On the BC Gurus templates, I've been using just a straight web app, company settings, and doing similar, kind of the same thing. I've also, of course, worked on sites that have the Solid Company Settings app. And to me, it's a nice prepackaged way to get that functionality without having to build the web app and all the, getting all the code in all the right places. The Solid Company Settings just works. So I appreciate it from that perspective.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Solid Company Settings, Bill is chiming in here. Pretty sure that will work across all the plans because it doesn't use web app functionality. It uses like a JSON formatting. So also, is on the App Store now, if you guys aren't aware, there is a tab that will say what plans are supported for that app. It's next to the comments or something. So
Nice.
definitely take a look at that if you're curious, if you are someone that doesn't use a plan. But I think for most of our sites, we always kind of support web apps just because they're great.
Mm-hmm.
So
I won't do this for everyone, but on this particular one, I'd be interested to know in the folks that are on the call today, is anybody actually using Solid Company Settings for the sites they built for their clients? Don't bother saying no, just say yes if you do, and we'll just be interested to see. And as Yeah. So David has his own spin on that, and that's again what
Yeah.
I was using for business for BC Guru stuff. That's fine. Okay. So as Scott Reynolds likes to say, crickets, as it were. So this the sister to that is the solid admin menu, and at its core, it allows you to relabel and move things around in the admin menu to to create something that makes sense for your particular client. So I know on one that I just finished working on, we move coupon codes. We call them coupon settings, and it really just moved some web apps and such, and called it coupon settings, and it made more sense to the customer rather than web apps. And that's 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 the advantage of this solid admin menu. You can hide things that you don't think your client needs to see. You can rename things so it makes more sense to them. Uh, and Greg's been he's just sharing a screen there. He's got a great example for the Brain Injury Association of America. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the one that we've shown off before. I think we showed it off at Max, but a great example of solid admin menu, where we keep the site manager kind of the same, 'cause all that stuff kind of is applicable to the client. But then like menus, like maybe they wouldn't know to be in site manager. We put them out here. We have a couple different we have like a different web app for like a profile menu. We have the different modules. We rename like certain things like media downloads. A client wouldn't understand. We rename it to secure documents. We have different web apps in here like sponsors. We have side modules on pages that we put into different sections. We have components. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, if there's been a Sandpile on that or something, but I know Scott Scheffler has a tutorial at BC Academy talking about how we build sites of components, kind of rethinking the way to lay out your pages using web apps, and we put that all there rather than just the ambiguous web app term, which is used all over the place these days. And over here, we really just try to break this out as best we can, because this site is absolutely massive, and try to make it feel like a not generic BC kind of experience with all the old modules you might not use, like FAQs and news and stuff like that. We try to really strip it down to what we use ourselves. And if you're an admin user, you go into the admin menu labels. I'll just show you what this kind of looks like if you haven't seen this before. Just gives you full access to really move and change things. Now, you can't rename the web apps from here. You'd have to rename the web app itself and move it around. This is a drag and drop interface as well, so I'm not going to move anything because this is a site we're working on. But really simple to add your own navigations. You can even add to the top menu, which a lot of people probably don't use often. You can add your own links here. You can add. You got to be a little tricky with linking to pages on your site because there are some security issues between HTTPS and stuff like that. But it's just really it's a really useful app that I think you probably want to install on most of your client sites, depending on the use case.
Yeah, like to me, there's I think 6 or 7 sections on the left there that all contain web apps, and if that was all listed under web apps, I mean, almost a nightmare for a client to figure out where they got to go to make an update, right?
Yeah, lose your mind. So
yeah, cool. I'll ask it again for this one, and then maybe I'll stop asking. But anybody out there is using solid admin menu? Yeah, so Bill's using that. Yeah, so a few people using that. Nice. So again, we install that on almost all the projects that we do at Chicago Digital, and we just find it super valuable for making the back end make more sense for our end clients. The next one is Visual Content Finder, and I personally love this one. And we, because of that, we started installing it on BC Guru's sites. Not that you have to have it, but if you do own Visual Content Finder and you download these latest BC Guru's templates, you just turn it on and it's all connected and tested. So it's pretty cool. But the front end experience of this, is the site set up with that?
I believe it is.
Yeah. So at its core, when you're logged in as an admin, maybe it's not
this,
on that
but you know what,
page.
this site might not be set up with it.
Yeah.
Maybe it's got to be.
Shouldn't.
Maybe this wasn't a good example. Yeah, there we go.
Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah.
So in the lower left corner, you see the button to turn it off and on. When it's on, you have these icons that come over all the content. And when it's set up properly, like if you want to edit that news item,
Oh, I clicked on the events
that
item.
doesn't matter. Whatever you click on, it
Oh, we
other
got the
than
logout bug.
you got the multiple logos, but in the back end, it takes you right to that piece of content, whether it's a web app, whether it's a photo gallery, whether it's a news item, whether it's a blog post. It takes you to that. It takes your end client ultimately to that item so they can edit it. So super simple. They don't have to know to go to public affairs events. They just navigate the page, and they can get to the content they want to update. Now, at this particular point in time, you can't add content that way, but it gets you at least to the right place. And then if you just go add new, you're good to go. But
yeah, and another benefit if you subscribe to the Visual Content Finder, which it is a monthly app, you also get the Visual Content Overview, which is a separate app available. I know some of our clients requested like they need a way to get all the pages on their site. They need to get away anything that generates a URL. They need to see it. So pretty much that's included with the Visual Content Finder as well. So you wouldn't need to buy the Visual Content or the Solid Content Overview app as well. And what that just does, just gives you very similar to the Solid meta tags in a sense, but it doesn't do the highlighting of, based off, which is another app we'll probably talk about. But yeah, it just gives you, page descriptions, titles, is the page live, easy link to edit it, and so on. So this is actually another useful feature that kind of gets, forgotten about when we talk about Visual Content Finder, but another benefit. And you could also export to a CSV as well. It's really good for if you're trying to do an SEO kind of campaign. You want to map out all your page titles and stuff. So it's really useful
nice.
for that.
Yeah, for me, certainly on the template side, I just think it's a game changer for delivering a product to a client that they can relatively easily edit. Yeah, they still got to know how to navigate around a bit. They still got to know a little bit of HTML and maybe even a little bit of CSS, but just makes it super easy for them to get to the content that they want to update and not have to hunt around until they can find it. Super cool. Then if these are a few apps that I use in particular, the web app transfer app. So what that allows you to do is take an existing web app. The app needs to be loaded on both sites, but I can transfer a complete web app, form the fields, the layouts, list, detail, all those layouts. You basically say copy. You go to the other site and say import, and your web app is created on the other site. Now, when I build as an example, when I build the BC Gurus templates, I build it on the US site. Now I have to recreate those sites basically on the EU and the AU data centers. So I make extensive use of this web app transfer app. But if you're building sites and you've built a section that for customer A that is going to work great for customer B, you have this web app transfer app. It's literally just what he's doing there. You go export, copy paste, import, and it creates that web app for you. If you want to bring the data along, you can just export and import the data. But I mean, it sets you up ready to go. It's a super valuable app in my workflow.
I'm not going to do it here on a live site, but what's also great is the duplicate feature. Like if you're making, an FAQ web app, instead of having, you could duplicate an FAQ web app for a different section and just like, instead of creating a different classification, because clients don't like going into Action Classify doing that, you can just copy it. And correct me if I'm wrong, Scott, I think you're in here. When you do duplicate, it even copies like the list view, the detail view kind of stuff as well. So it's awesome.
It does.
Yeah,
Scott's welcome to answer if he wants, but it definitely copies all.
This app has saved me and like hours already, and I absolutely love it. So definitely a must-have if you're.
And I'm pretty sure that's a one-time, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a one-time per partner. I think like most of the Scott or the Fry's apps are. Yeah.
So super valuable. On the heels of that, there's also the form transfer app, and this I like to say that Scott built it for me because I whined and moaned and groaned and complained until he had enough of that, and decided he would build it for me. So it does the same thing for forms. I mean, when you're building sites, how many times have you built a contact form? How many times have you built this form or that form or something that you want to reuse? So that form transfer app virtually does the same thing as we just showed you for the web app transfers. You choose a form, you say export, you go to the other side, you say import, and boom, your form is built. again, I make use of that like crazy on when I'm doing the BC Growers templates, because you got to rebuild all those forms. So real cool. At this point, I'd like to know if anybody's using these transfer apps in their workflow. Oh, that's how it works. Thanks,
I
Scott.
should mention there also is the web app utilities app, which is very similar and also offers some features where you can get a web app to JSON output. I think that's done by Liam at Pretty as well. So that's
Yeah,
another app
it's
that is also in
pretty
the store.
detailed. Um, yeah, fair enough. That's fair enough. So I'll give Scott a shout out. He does a really good job of his overview videos, and just like Bill says, oh, that's how it works. Bill, if you just go watch his overview video, I think he does a really good job of showing how it works, and he's real meticulous about making sure the gist of how you would use the app is presented nicely. So now I'm biased because I like Scott, but I still think he does a great job of it. Now this the next one I want to talk about is it's how you pester him. That's exactly it. You gotta have direct contact, and you gotta pester him until he gets tired of your whining and then says, "Okay, I'll build it for you," or "I'll build it, not for you." He says, "I'll build it." He says. So and then he does. So it's pretty cool. I've got 2 or 3 that way. I like to think anyway. So the next one is site information, which is kind of I think it's an underrated thing. So we build sites for other agencies, and sometimes, like, you build stuff, when I build it as a developer, sometimes it's not obvious how a client or even the other agency is supposed to interact with a bit of content or a layout on a page. And we end up putting those notes in like a gather content or in a Word document or a PDF that we send to the other agency. At its simplest, this site information would allow me to document all that stuff right in the back end of the web app that I built. And you can make all those anomalies, or this is how you update this content, or this is the intent of this layout, or don't do this, or never delete this, or before you start using this you have to add that. I thought this is a great app for storing that information for the end clients. Do you have more than that, Greg?
I mean, yeah, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. It also is, it's a per partner app. You install it once. It's a really simple app, but what it does, it accomplishes a purpose that's going to save you time in the long run, because now you're not going to get a support ticket from your client saying, well, how do I do this? How do I edit that? It's going to save you time in the
Mm-hmm.
long run. It's definitely a great app to be thinking about, and it's also great to document everything. A lot of the times you forget to do that. It's kind of like before you go forward, you gotta document what you're doing, because you might not always be there. You might not always be on that project, and it's just a good practice in general.
Yeah,
It reminds you to do that.
we have to pause. Mary Blight's gone into a tunnel. I'm worried about her. It looks like she's on a train and she just went into a tunnel. So cool. And this, you'll notice these are mostly Scott's apps right now. It's simply because I started with one, and I just went through the list of that developer's apps. So we'll change to somebody else pretty soon here. But the next one is the Foundation Builder, which I can't say enough about. I've used it for the last 4 BC Growers templates, and use the Foundation Builder to actually build the templates. It frankly took me a little bit to get used to the workflow, and Scott was gracious enough to help me a little bit on it. But once I got it down and understood the concept of it, it's just super. Particularly for if you want to be able to reuse a site. So if I buy one of those templates from BC Growers, I download it. I've got Foundation Builder loaded. Customer A wants a red focus, and he wants this font, and he wants that thing. You just make the changes in the Foundation Builder, hit save and publish, and your site basically is rewritten with that stuff. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and also just to add to that, one of those things too is like when you're working with like a preprocessor and something with a developer does something, usually they have to render it out to CSS, because then you have to support that site. You have to support that site. Now you need the SAS files. You need to make sure you have
Mm-hmm.
all the setup. You got to go through all that offline stuff to figure it out. With that takes it all out of the equation. Anybody could hop into the app, start messing with the variables and the mixins
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So, I mean, it is super powerful if you're someone who uses SAS, but then also has like a support team or other developers that you work with on a team. it's
Yeah.
really, really awesome for that.
The one thing that doesn't necessarily get talked about is when you hit save and publish, it takes all the modular stuff that you've done for CSS and the modular stuff that you've done for JavaScript and writes them out into one style sheet and one JavaScript file. Now, ostensibly, if you're trying to support that from one big long file, I've had people say, well, how come you went from like a few hundred lines of code to a few thousand lines of code? Well, in that one file, it's outputting the foundation CSS, it's outputting all the custom CSS for all the plugin CSS, like it's all in one file. The advantage of that, though, is in the app you can minimize your CSS and minimize your JavaScript, and that's the fastest loading you're going to be able to make it. Then if you need to change it, you don't have to unminify it. You just go back to the app, make your change in your module, hit save and publish. All your settings are there. It puts out the minified file. So it's even good from a page speed loading perspective. So I can't
Yeah,
speak
and
enough
then
about it.
one of the concerns too that when we were looking at it, with one of our developers, Scott, one of our developers, Chicago Digital, was looking at it. He said, um, we can't. He loves his code editor. He doesn't want to edit in the admin. He doesn't want to have to log in. But then we realized, I told Scott, or Scott Reynolds, I was like, hey, would it be cool if you could have your own CSS file that gets added just like the JavaScript ones where you like import it in? And he was like, well, yeah, there's an option for that. It's called import. So you
Yeah,
can still edit all your code in your code editor, save it up. Then all you got to do is just log in once, hit save and publish, and you're good to go. So,
yeah.
you know,
And it adds your custom code to the foundation based CSS and the plugin based CSS and outputs one file. That's a great way to go.
yeah.
So Bill, that's some nice feedback. He uses it on every site. Oh, now he says on every site where we document for our
I
own
think he's
team.
talking
So
about the site information,
yeah,
but
but then he says
sounds
cut my
like he
phone.
uses it.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So, it sounds like you use it on a lot of your sites. It says you cut your dev time by hours. So yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, he says he uses both on every site, and it's cutting his dev time down. So, you can chime in if you like, Bill. I'm sure it took you a little bit to get used to it, to integrate it into your workflow. But once you do, like by the time I got to the second and then the third site that I built with it, it's just ingrained, and it becomes natural, and you understand it, and it makes it pretty easy. Actually, I like it. And the next one on the heels of that is the Foundation Form Builder, which only came out a little while ago, and I like to think that's another one I hounded Scott on, but I think he had the idea before. He just I pushed him over the edge on it. But another great tool. I mean, how many times you gotta take the table based form layout and you gotta convert that to Foundation and get it on the page. And the customer wants 2 columns, and he wants no labels or whatever, all that stuff, right? That form builder lets you choose whichever form you've already built, and you define some parameters. I want labels, I want them beside, I want them inside, I want placeholders, I want 2 columns, whatever. Spits out a code, you drop that include file on the page, good to go. If that's not quite enough level of editing for you, you can actually then go to manual mode and do the final touches on that. Say you want a little, something that the app won't do, or a little bit more customization that you want to do, you can still do that. You get most of the way there with the app, and then you finalize it in the manual edit. Yeah. Oh, he wants me to. Oh, yeah. That's a good point, Bill. So a Hassel Scott for an XY grid and form builder. Yeah, nice. Yeah. XY grid. Interesting. I'm going to stay away from that for the moment. So the next thing, I kind of bundle these 3 under review, rebuild, and redirect. And if the first app is site review, if you want to share your screen and bring that up, if you don't mind, Greg.
Oh, site review. I think it's just the URL slug. So it's a review, rebuild, redirect, and this app is from Short Story Marketing. Is that Bill in there? Is that the same Bill I'm thinking about? Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah. So this is a really cool app that it was one of those apps. It's very affordable. It's per partner, only $39.98. And if you notice why the pricing is $39.98, I don't know if everybody's wised up to that, but that is a discount code for a United States monthly. I think it's the gold plan. That's what it's worth. So if you buy this app, you get a coupon code. I don't know if I've ever said that publicly. I don't know if BC wants me to say that, but It's a very smart pricing there, Bill. But yeah, so I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer to check out this app. If you're going to be launching a new site, you'll look at the first
Well,
one.
that's the thing. It's almost like a checklist
Yeah,
where you're going to go live. There's some things you got to remember to check. The app points out most of those for you. So that's a pretty cool app, Bill. Along those same lines, there was the solid content overview, which does a similar thing in a different way. Is that the
yeah. So yeah, this is the app here. I'll just show a screenshot. Basically, it just gives you a checkbox to go through, shows you where they've been redirected. So basically, if you got a lot of 301 redirects to do, and you don't want to keep track of like on a separate sheet, you want to just do it all in the admin. This is kind of perfect. And what's also great is it shows the template. I don't think any of our apps show what template that the pages are assigned to, because usually mostly when you're taking a site live from like reskinning a site, you're going to change templates around, and you want to make sure that when you leave that site project, when you do a reskin, that the templates are proper. So this is really awesome. So perfect if you're reskinning a site, changing some URLs around, and it's gonna do the job for you. Well, not really, but you still got to do the work. But you're going to be able to know what you've done, and it keeps track of everything that you've checked off. So at the end of the day, when it's all check marked, you're good to go. So
cool? Along those lines, the solid content overview. Maybe bring that one up since you're in there.
yeah. So solid content overview is pretty much the exact same thing that I showed in the visual content finder. The visual content finder includes content overview.
Yeah,
And I hear you. We need a search on the App Store. I hear you.
yeah.
So this is it's pretty much it. Gives you a URL, everything that you would need. Doesn't give you the template though. So
Yeah, I do like that it gives you the title and description though, as we're SEO centric, to be able to just to scroll through and find your items that don't have an SEO title and description.
Yeah, and I think that's a good lead into one of the other apps that's up next is the solid meta tags, and
Yeah, go
that's
ahead.
it's pretty much very similar app, but a different purpose to it. Is it's going to separate when you get the pro version. The free version includes pages. I encourage anyone who hasn't done that yet, download it. It's worth it. Your clients will love it. And then also we got web apps as well, and you could define the fields. It actually will even search the output of the page to get that field for you, as well as in one of the
Sorry,
most
just to
recent
clarify,
updates.
the free version has pages only, right?
Yeah, free versions pages.
Yeah.
The pro version includes blog posts, web apps, and e-commerce. And then there's also an unlimited version that's a little more expensive, but if you're going to put it on every site like we do, it's probably worth it.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have got the pro version as well. So this is really useful. It gives you you could set the parameters of how long you want descriptions to be enabled to. If you're missing a description, it's going to show it as red. If not, it's got all that logic included. And here's all the options you get. So definitely, one of those apps that we use all the time. And there's a reason we made it. So that's
For sure.
that's that.
That's I should say as well. I mean, this Greg's been running the App Store for 2, 3, 4 years. I don't know.
Not quite.
All his
About
life.
a little over a year and a half.
Okay.
I graduated about a year and a half ago. So
okay. Well, I guess I would say if you have a question about an app, now is probably the time to ask when you have the fellow that can most likely answer that question. So the other one, which I'd like to know how many people are using this one, but the Page Proofer app. So if you're having clients go through your stuff, if you have third-party developers that you've hired to build your sites for you, this Page Proofer app may be of value to you. Go ahead and show the screenshots there, or how it works.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of us. All our client sites we've installed this out, and the reason we use the app is because it basically gives us the ability to only show the overlay when they're logged into the admin using the BC. I forget what tag that is, but basically we enable it so the overlay shows up regardless if you're logged in. We use like an anonymous login, so that way when our clients go in, they can log into the BC site. Also, I think it passes some extra BC data as well, but basically we're only going to show this overlay that shows up on the site. It's only going to execute that code if you're logged in on the admin. And once you're logged in the admin, it's an anonymous submission, but it's automatically going to go right into our Help Scout, which is what we use for our support tickets. And that's automatically going to create a ticket or a task in Basecamp for one of our developers to go in and fix. And what's great about this is not only do you get a note, this is an outdated screenshot, it will actually give you the width, the browser width, it will give you what browser they're on, what operating system, exactly where it is. It works responsively. It works on mobile. Our clients love using this to create support tickets. And all they have to do, log into the admin, visually click on the problem. They say, you know what, I want this text changed, but I don't really know how to do it. And they can put the text right in there, and you know exactly what text they're talking about. You don't have to go back and forth and say, oh, is it that button or did you mean that? No, you know exactly where it is because they just double click on their own site and they can add support tickets just like that right into our system. So this is, if you're not using PageProofer, the developer of the app is awesome. He's worked with us to make this work with a couple different integrations. Highly recommend it. Yeah, check it out. There's a link to sign up right from our listing here. If you want to check out PageProofer, it's an incredible service, and it's pretty inexpensive for what it is. So.
Does the trouble ticket have to go into like Zendesk or Help
No.
Scout, or you can?
No, you know what? Let me log in. I'll show you what this kind of looks like. Let's pick what's one that has some old. I don't know if these guys did anything. Anyways, this is all I really need to show you. These are all complete, but you've got your to-do, your in progress, and complete, and these are click and draggable. And you can close them out when they're done. I don't want to actually save that because I don't want to notify anybody. But yeah, you could also sort by user who is assigned to. You could sort by priority, and you can sort by which page it's on. This is only a one pager, but all the pages that it finds on the code will show up here. And then you've got all your close stuff. So this is awesome for anyone who supports their sites and hates dealing with just emails. This is perfect.
So the ticket is in PageProofer, and then through it, by extending it, you can get that to go out into Help Scout and to Basecamp and stuff.
And
cool.
You don't have to deal with it in PageProofer. You could we just actually like link over to it because the PageProofer interface is great, but it'll put it in Help Scout, put it in Basecamp, wherever you want it to go.
Nice. Yeah, to me for QA, when you deliver the site to your client, for them to go through and say, oh, this button was supposed to be orange, or this text shouldn't be this big, or whatever they want to say, rather than sending you screenshots and emails and all the rest of it, for them to be able to mark up the page is pretty cool. So the next batch of apps, Jack's got a question for you, Greg.
Oh, sorry, I don't have my chat open. Give me a sec.
And maybe read it out because it does not appear in the recording, the chat window. So.
Yeah, so Jack is asking, if I rename the domain after going live because it's a new site, replace the old one, do I have to worry that the app domain is different than the app that was installed or purchased on? And the question is that kind of depends on the app. Certain apps have a kind of like a DRM protection that will authenticate to make sure that the app was actually licensed properly. Another thing, I don't think it will affect if you log into a site, like, you go to your My Apps page and you can see like the version list. I think that'll get updated. I'm pretty sure the way that talks to the Business Catalyst side of things is all done through the site ID. So if the site ID changes, but if you actually are changing the site, like the whole site is changing, but it's the same website, if you go to our help section here, there's one of it's the top support article. If you want to transfer it, you do just need to submit a ticket with the name of the app that you purchased, when you purchased it, the original purchase. If you don't have like the order ID or the email address exactly, we'll try to figure it out. But basically, you give us the original website and the new website, and we and then also add support at VC App Store as an admin user, so that we can have permission to install onto that new site. And then that also gets sent to Adobe when we manually send this to Adobe to update the license on their end. So definitely, this is something that a lot of people write tickets about, and I send them this way. I'm like, please just fill out this ticket with the information, and you're good to go.
There was when we were just testing the setup, Greg, you and I were talking about another thing that happens with apps that you wanted to mention.
You refresh my memory.
I was hoping you remember.
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. Okay.
So using multiple credit cards for subscriptions. This came up recently where, um, a lot of people will I mean, the App Store is for admin or for partner users only. It's kind of silly in that way, but we can't change it. It's just the way it's set up with BC. You have to be a partner to buy apps. So typically, if you have a client and you want to install an app, you install it on their behalf using your partner account to log in. You have to use your partner email. But sometimes you take their credit card information and pay for the app for the client. Now this was fine when we were just we had the single payment model, one time per site sort of thing. But now that we have the monthly reoccurring, this kind of became an issue where we store the credit card information on our payment processor, and you can only have one credit card per account. So basically, what you have to do if you're going to be using your own client's credit cards for subscription-based app purchases, you're just going to have to go and just create another BC App Store account. It's not ideal, but it's definitely something I want to make sure that everybody's aware of who's a partner. Just create a new account. I would just name it, like the name of your client, create an alias for their email address or something. It's basically going to be, the way that you log in, and then just keep track of that in like a password manager or however you keep track of passwords. And whenever you need to install a site for that client, I would just use that, because if you have a monthly subscription going and then you enter a client's credit card for a separate app, well, now that client's going to get billed for the monthly subscription. So just be mindful of that when you do have monthly subscriptions going on your site.
Yeah. So if you, what I hear you saying is if you have client A has a monthly subscription, so every month, say $40 is coming out, and then you have client B and you enter their credit card, everything gets changed. So now client B is getting charged for client A's app on a monthly basis if you
Yeah,
don't set up a separate account.
didn't want to show that. I was hoping that'd be more blocked out, but yeah. So anyways, you only get one credit card, and you can change that through the edit billing. Once you change that, all active subscriptions are going to go through that for that account. So just make a separate account.
Yeah, so make a separate account. And when you apply that app to the site, there's still the pop-up window, and that's where you use your partner ID.
You still
right?
use your partner login. Absolutely. The App Store account is separate from the actual prompt to authenticate with BC, which we've seen before. So
Nice.
yeah, just keep that in mind. Always use your partner email. If you just use an email that has access to the account, which has happened many times, you're going to get a site ID error, and then we got to talk to Adobe, and they got to authenticate you, and it's no fun. But yeah, just log in with your partner ID, and you're good.
Okay. I'm just making a note when I edit the video before I post it, Greg. I'll try and go in and take that little flash out for you.
It really didn't have anything critical. It was just Mike's name and our address here, which is publicly accessible. So don't worry about
it. Okay. All right. So the next batch I got are not necessarily workflow or site build related. They are, but not so much the build, but more the management. The first one would be the email marketing template pack.
Yeah, I mean,
so if you go ahead,
I'll pull that up here I mean, I just want to take a second here to appreciate CBO for how awesome they make these intro videos on their apps. Like, I kind of just watch this when I need to get hyped up for anything. If you guys haven't watched these videos, these are incredible. They're like Apple quality, like hype videos for their apps, and take a look at it. If you haven't seen the email marketing template pack, it is not a traditional App Store app in the sense that it's going to install to your sites, because the way you install email campaigns is through the partner portal. It's basically just a zip download, and you download you download this when you pay for the app, and you'll get a download link, and you go in and you can install these awesome responsive templates. They have some generic ones too that come with it, and they're all ICE editable. They go right into the partner portal with just by copying, pasting them in. And we install this for all our clients and just enable in the partner portal as part of the process when we go live. And, clients use this all the time for quick emails. If they don't want to pay to have a custom template, this is, if good, if not better than something that we could produce. So check out these template app, or it's not really an app, but the download, check it out. It is just awesome if you're offering email marketing to your clients.
Yeah, and the cross compatibility or the mail client compatibility has been done for you. You can be reasonably sure this is going to look as good as it possibly can in any email client. Anybody who's done email newsletters knows what a pain in the butt that can be.
Oh yeah.
for
Yeah, I
sure.
mean, CBO's attention to detail and this stuff is great, and their support is also great as well. So they've got some great stuff here on the App Store that I think we're gonna kind of cover here coming up.
Nice, nice. Social media feed is the next one. So that's a timeline for social media channels. I'm not familiar with this one, so I'm looking forward to
Yeah,
what you're.
so this one is, I think, kind of an underrated app in the sense that, it saves you a lot of time because a lot of times clients will come to you, I need a social media, I need a Twitter feed, I need this. And this app just kind of takes the pain out of that. And it also has an unlimited license, which if you're doing a lot of client sites, this is it's really useful. But it gives you, on at its core, by default, it gives you this kind of, I guess you would say like a Pinterest kind of like layout for all your different social channels. You could, and it's got like isotope filtering. I think I said that right. You can sort by all your channels. You can enable, disable Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that. But what's really cool, they even have the option for, they've got different templates built in, but you can also do custom templates. So you can upload your own TPL file, and there's tags that you can get from the app to create your own custom template. So really, it's your one-stop shop for a Twitter feed, Facebook feed, whatever you need. You could do it custom if you don't want to use the built-in timeline template, the column template, or the tile kind of Pinterest like layout. I mean, it
Yeah, that's
puts everything
super.
in aggregate, and you could choose how many posts you want to show for the different channels, and it's awesome. It's really easy to work with, and their instructions for installing the app, like how you got to get APIs, all this kind of different stuff. This is you know it's just awesome for that. We got a
Super.
question here from James talking about any further development happening with the app boilerplate. It seemed to be going somewhere than not. I was using it to learn app development. That's a great question. To be honest, I know not a lot has been done recently with that. That was kind of like Mike's initiative. I don't really have any updates for you on that at this time, but it's definitely something that we want to continue to improve. It is on the GitHub. I think it's a public GitHub that people can be, commenting on and making changes as it goes. And we try to manage that so we get notifications for that. So it's kind of out there, and it would be definitely something that we want to pursue. Uh, getting more tutorials and more apps out with that. And I think Bill, if you want to chime in, I think you might have used uh, that for your app. I think you had mentioned before. So there are apps out in the App Store that have been built using that. So
Nice. The next one I thought was worth mentioning is the include manager, and that's actually I believe one of Scott's again, but it's a back end app that allows you to manage and take care of includes. So as we have moved into liquid markup, more and more developers are using includes, and Scott saw the need for managing that. I think you sort by developer maybe is your best bet.
yeah, I know. Sorry.
That's okay. One day, my prince will come and we'll have a search. So one of the things that's not necessarily obvious, it allows you to do some things based on what's happening on the page. So if you know who the user is, if you know, boy, if you go back to the description there was a list of what it would do.
Oh yeah.
So if his user is logged into a specific secure zone, you can give them different content. If the last name matches whatever you're trying to, or you can read yourself there. So it allows you to do some personalization of the site in a relatively simple method without having to know a lot about code. And I think it's an unexplored little marvel. I think it can do a lot, and I haven't had a chance to use it yet. So maybe I'm speculating, but I think it's got some good potential. What do you think?
Yeah, and it looks like Scott is saying he's added some more. He's got to update the description. I mean, I think this app is great, especially for if your clients really want to customize their site and then they're not going to learn Liquid. This is great. Another thing that's great, I mean, just like getting logged into the specific secure zone, a lot of times, people overlook how powerful that is for showing different content for people logged in and out without having to, it's not the easiest thing to do. There are liquid snippets for it, but I think a lot of people kind of like, oh, I can't, it's not very apparent how to get the secure zone in a liquid variable to use in an if statement. This is one of those things that just makes it easy, and it gives you a nice interface in the back end. You can manage it all. Just a little bit nicer way to have your includes.
And I see it's like an 8-minute introductory video, so I'm pretty sure he goes into a fair bit of detail as to what it can and can't do and how to use it. So worth watching.
Absolutely.
Maybe not as dramatic as CBOs, but well laid out.
Yeah.
So another one that I should probably make more use of. Maybe we as a development agency should, the Coming Soon app. So you find that one. I'm not sure how many
Yeah.
people know this one is even in here, but I mean,
I think that
I
was.
I work on live sites all the time where whether you're making a change or they wanted to secure the URL, and it's just easier to post it live. And so, do you really want your potential clients looking at your site while you're working through the development? So to me, this is a great tool for that.
Yeah.
Not to mention collecting email addresses as you go.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a simple layout that's gonna it blurs out the content in the background. You can enable, disable it, just an include. It goes onto the site, and you are one of those things that it isn't. Yeah, not a lot of people I think have been using this, but this one is pretty useful.
Yeah, one time $35 and use it
Yeah.
on whatever sites you want, right?
Oh
And
no,
it's
it's per site,
is it
but
per
yeah,
site? Ah, sorry.
yeah, no, it's
Sorry.
fine.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. Another one too that I've been getting. I think in the Facebook group people were asking about, and we saw some comments come through about this, about the XML feed app from Peter here. And this app is very useful. We've used this on a couple of our e-commerce sites to hook into Google Merchant Center, and basically this will give you some. You basically choose your catalog. You can choose all catalogs as well. And what it will do whenever you run this, when you run the app and you hit save, it's going to grab all the catalog products, and it's going to output an XML file right onto your site. So you could choose the URL. You can have more than one feed as well for different catalogs as well. And you're going to go in and you get like different, I think he's got a list here of all the different, not attributes, but all the different tags that you get from your product can go into that XML feed dynamically. So perfect for using Google Merchant Center. Just the one thing to keep in mind is you got to go back in and hit update. So if you make some changes to your shop, just don't forget to go to here, hit edit, and then resync it. So definitely a really awesome app that we've used in production that can really save save
Nice.
yourself from going in doing all that manually. So
And put those steps that you need to do into your site information app so that it's not forgotten.
yeah, that's true.
Too
And
funny.
also because it is the holiday season, don't forget about the snow effect app. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So
Well,
it
whatever.
is what it is, and you get a little snow effect on your website. It's
Yeah.
actually pretty impressive that how from a technical standpoint how you get to customize it. But anyways, just wanted to throw that in there.
Sure. The last two, these are another couple I'd be interested to know if folks are using out there. I'll say them both and we can look at them, but Photo Album Pro and the Dynamic Slide Builder. So I don't personally use these, but I thought, man, they got to be an easier way to manage this stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, the dynamic slider builder is great for, it almost kind of just speaks for itself. You look at the design, it's a really well thought out slider that just is, it's awesome. It does exactly what you need to do. It's got a great admin interface, allows you to have multiple. I think you can have different sliders. The installation is super simple. And just watch the video; it'll speak for itself. It's exactly what you think it is. It's definitely an improvement over the older homepage slider app, which is one of the classic apps at the App Store. It's just awesome, and it allows you to hook in videos from Vimeo, YouTube, and so on. So definitely check out this app if you're someone who has a client who loves editing their sliders themselves and wants to customize things. This is perfect.
Nice. And then the Photo Album Pro I thought was pretty impressive too.
Yeah, Photo Album Pro is great. It's a nice drag and drop photo album editor. It's definitely one of those apps that I think is just awesome to have them for getting where. See, that's
Yeah,
why I
me
need to
too.
search. You know what? If you really want to search, you could type in VC App Store, Photo Album Pro. That's what we got to do for now. But I mean, it's just really simple. They got some great pre-built layouts for your albums, and clients who want to be able to upload their own photos and don't want to use FTP, and you don't want to they want to be able to categorize them, have all the filtering kind of built out, standard out of the box is great for that.
Yeah, and even the masonry layout there is to achieve that just through an app is pretty cool.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I'd be interested to know if anybody's using those for their clients. I know. I mean, I've built these things from scratch several times for sites I've built, and there's times when it definitely would have been worthwhile just installing one of these. And crickets. So maybe stop sharing your screen there. Let's get all the folks back on there and see if anybody's got any questions in the last few minutes here. Or if Penny's had a shower and combed her hair and is willing to show us on her camera. I don't see. Even Ursula bailed. Daniel bailed. Oh. There's Daniel. Thank you, sir. Did you get mad at me because I teased you about having breakfast and not sharing? Oh, let me, yeah, sorry. I'm going to unmute everybody, so we'll see what happens. If it's a cacophony, I may have to mute y'all again, but.
Oh, I got a question here from David here, who's asking about what do you have to do to add an app to the App Store? So first things first, you want to kind of dive into developing your app. So you don't need to be an App Store developer to develop BC apps. You just need to have a partner account, and kind of if you log into your partner portal, you'll see there's an app section there. There's some tutorials on BC Academy that kind of walk you through the process to create your own admin apps. There's tutorials on it. There's some documentation on the BC site. It's not the greatest documentation. But if you already have an app and you are ready to go, you can go over to the BC App Store website, and then there's a link somewhere that says right at the top, kind of like it says develop, and you just fill out the form there. You agree to the terms and conditions and make sure you read through the developer agreement, because it kind of outlines how everything works there with commissions and everything. So fill that out as best you can, and we'll go from there. I'll be in touch with you, and we can set up a meeting, go through talk about the app, or talk about the app development process. We're here to help you for that. So definitely reach out to us via the App Store on the Develop tab. And if you've already sent that, go ahead and if I haven't got back to you, just shoot another message to support at App Store, and I'll definitely make sure that I get back to you on that.
Nice.
But yeah, to be clear, you don't need to be an App Store approved developer to create BC apps. I would encourage that you guys kind of try to do that before filling out the form, just because we do get some spam on that form, and sometimes it gets missed. So if you have an app, describe it. Awesome. Cool. Nice. I'll try to be in touch with you. I know I have like 2 or 3 that I have to get back to people on. So sorry about that.
Nice. All right. Well, that brings us to the top of the hour. So thanks everybody for your attention, and thanks, Greg. I appreciate your input and conversation as a panelist. You definitely know the apps in more detail than me on a lot of them. So I'm glad you're here to help out with that. And if people have questions about apps, I'm assuming they can just email you straight at gregp@chicagodigital.com. Is that fair? No?
Greg P at BC App Store, maybe?
That might be better. It's the same one.
Alias. It doesn't matter. You can get me at like 100 different email addresses.
Yeah. So Greg P at bcappstore.com is probably the fair way to say it. So, and now I've said it both ways in live.
It all leads to me. Yeah. To quote, all roads lead to Rome. So that's
exactly. Yeah. Cool. All right. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week. Just stay on there, Daniel, and you and I can have a quick chat once folks are logged out.
All right, cool. And if I think some of the people here were saying they want to sign up for apps, I'll definitely try to be in touch with you by the end of this week, and we can set up a meeting to go from there. So good talking to you guys.
Nice.